So depending on when you watch this, you might have already seen an interview I did with Carsten from the Fifth Volt. He is one of the main representatives of the Tangible Waves AE Modular format, doing great videos talking about patching on the system, demoing modules, and really just showing incredible support for the AE Modular community. He has done demos at the events, he has done interviews, just great coverage of all things AE Modular. And he this year agreed to do an interview at Superbooth with me. And I asked him some questions I had about the system, and one of the questions was about advice for people who are new to the AE Modular format. And his answer was brilliant. In fact, we'll cut that in just now. Here is how he answered that question. I had a couple of questions really based around that. First off, you have done so many great tutorials for the AE Modular. Have you got any tips for someone who's just starting out? Maybe someone who's looked at the modular system today at Superbooth and has gone, I want to pick one of them up. Where do I start?
Well, the biggest advice I have is to just start. Don't think about it, don't overthink it, and don't think that, don't think like a perfectionist, because there is no perfection in modular, right? You have cracks, things go out of tune, you have strange effects because voltages overlap. I find that, especially if you step up and mix more and more voices together, your mixers are getting overloaded, and then suddenly you have like voice stealing, which is crazy in the analog world. So just don't overthink it and just start.
Great advice.
And also, you don't have to be a musician. Like, I'm not a musician. I never learned to play any instrument. I tried to learn scales and music theory, and it's impossible for me to just get my head around it. So I just listen. I try things out. I listen. Yeah, I like that sound. Let's see if I can make another sound that fits to it in some way that I like. Yeah. I don't know if anyone else will like it, but if I like it, it's good. And that's would be my advice. Just don't not start.
And this answer really got me thinking as a musician. That premise of just start, it is actually far more deeper than I think people might realise, especially in my opinion when it comes to songwriting. If you're someone that's starting to get into writing music, the question I get a lot from students and from friends who are getting into it is, where do you start? Now, I'm no expert. I'm learning with this all the time, just like everyone else. I don't think I write anything particularly groundbreaking. I write what I enjoy. So I'll just get that caveat out the way just now. But some of the things I've picked up as I'm going have actually kind of tied into this premise, because I have actually written a lot of music. And the one thing that comes up time and time again for me, and it turns out for a lot of other songwriters with a much higher acclaim than I have, is that the blank canvas is usually the hardest part. Staring at that blank canvas going, or the blank DAW screen, or just sitting there going, where do I start, is the hardest part. And it's kind of a good parallel with what's going on with the modular. And in the same way, you just have to start. That blank canvas will stay a blank canvas unless you throw some paint at it. That's what you've got to do. That initial idea has to be the spark. Ideas will only start to emerge and your imagination will start to run with it once there's something tangible for it to latch onto. For me, that could be playing bass through some pedals, coming up with a melody, coming up with even just like a bass loop that I can kind of let my mind wander with. Sitting at the modular, let's just tie it to the A modular. Sitting making blips and bloops on that is far more valuable than some people give it credit. I do all my drums on that, but also have these melodic sequences. Sometimes a little simple short sequence can just snowball into a bigger idea, and before you know it, you've got a full song. But before I put that little idea in, there was no song. So I think this is a bigger thing than I've given it credit for in the past, if I'm honest. I am so scared of the blank screen when I don't have anything new in my head. It really does come down to just putting an idea down. Even if that idea doesn't stay in the end, the final product may not have that initial idea in it. And that's okay. It doesn't have to stay. It's just the catalyst to trigger your imagination. The thing is, kids have no problem with this. Kids write songs. Kids tell stories. They don't think about people judging it. They don't think about it being wrong. They don't think about getting it wrong. They just have fun with it. There's a playful element there. And I think as adults, we often miss that. We forget about that. When you're writing music, you're playing. It's all in your head. It's imagination. You've got to let yourself run with it. You can't worry that, oh, people might not like that. They might think that's a mistake. And believe me, I've been guilty of this a lot over the last few years. What I've learned now is, well, do I like it? Do I like the way it sounds? Even if it was a mistake, do I like it? Well, that's the thing that matters. Again, this is where just starting, trying things. You make mistakes. And trust me, if you're just new to this, your first few songs, unless you're an absolute genius, are not going to be great. In fact, I would say 1 and 3 still aren't great for me. I mean, I'm not even saying the other 2 are great, but 1 and 3 will really not be great and won't see the light of day. But it might have ideas that I could borrow for another project that might turn it into a song that I'm really happy with. That's really the point here, is throw ideas at the canvas, throw paint at the canvas, and just run with it. See what happens. It's all about fun. Enjoy it. See, I liken this a little bit to learning to swim in your living room. You can watch videos on the concept of how to swim, and you could do all the study you want, but you cannot learn to swim until you get in the pool. Simple as that. You cannot learn to swim sitting on your couch. You have to physically do it. And I think with songwriting, it's the same thing. You can worry about all the chord structures and melodic phrases and all this kind of stuff. You can really stress about that all you want. But until you throw some paint at the canvas, I keep using that term, but I quite like it. Until you physically do that though, and you put an idea down, you'll never learn more about songwriting. You learn by doing. So just, as Carsten said in his answer about the AE Modular, just start. Just start putting ideas down. Let your imagination run with it. Obviously, music theory does factor in if you want it to. You can use music theory to build on a chord progression. If you get stuck on notes and think, well, what could work here? Then music theory can play a role. But it's not essential. And that feels terrible to say as a teacher. But ultimately, your imagination and what you feel is more important. Again, music theory is a great thing. I'm a big believer in learning music theory, but it's a great explainer and it's a great way of kind of figuring things out if you do get stuck. Say you put your idea down and you just can't find that one chord that just does what you want it to do. Well, knowing some theory at that point is kind of like knowing vocabulary. It helps you to get through that situation. But the big point here, before you even get to that, is to just start. So that's my thoughts on this anyway. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any ideas or any tips for anyone that you want to put in, leave them in the comments. I'd love to read about this because I'm still learning as well. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out any of my music or stay up to date on what I'm working on, gigs, things like that, then there is Instagram, Bandcamp, some streaming sites and YouTube, all under Gavin Forbes Music. And if you did enjoy this video, please hit like, subscribe, all that stuff people usually ask for, notification bells and all that. And until next time, thank you very much for watching and keep working on those bass faces.